Absolutely. You mentioned a couple of times ChatGPT and AI. I'm curious, as a writer, as an entrepreneur, as somebody who chronicles technology and has seen technology markets kind of evolve, and you have your own experiences with AI. What are your kind of very preliminary perspectives on ChatGPT and how it's going to kind of reshape creative markets?
Yeah, great question. And I've been involved, like I mentioned earlier, I was involved with quantitative finance in a way that I used artificial intelligence for investing. But earlier than that, I mean, I went to graduate school for computer science. I worked on a little bit. I worked on the computer that eventually got acquired by IBM and became Deep Blue, which was the first computer to be the world chess champion in 1997. So I have a deep experience with a lot of these things. And ChatGPT is very interesting, but people should understand it's never going to be intelligent. It's not going to be like a conscious intelligence. Here's what ChatGPT does, and I'll just simplify it. When you type into the Google query box, if I start typing, New York, and then I write KN, it'll fill out New York Knicks, like it'll fill it out, right? In the search query box, like it'll guess what you were trying to say, and then you just have to hit a character return and it says it. So it figures out whenever I see these letters, probably this person intends to write these letters next, and it gives me the option to just hit return. So ChatGPT does the same thing, except much, much more impressively. It takes all of everything ever written, from books, Wikipedia, Reddit posts, tweets, Facebook updates. It takes everything ever written in history. And then when someone types in, what is the climate going to be in the future? ChatGPT stops you and says, oh, here's what the climate will be in the future. Now, it's not figuring it out. It's just on all the trillions of pieces of text it has, it's figuring out what probably the next words are that is a good response.
I was going to ask you, it's like, is it fair to say that it's kind of almost like a probabilistic reconstruction of where that exploration should go? And is that maybe why sometimes it reads as a little bit generic? It's because it's that.
Yes, absolutely. Because also, it's not going to take chances. It's not going to do. First off, here's what it did, and I don't want to get so much into the details, but for a good year and a half, it took all this massive text, and all it did was use supercomputers to crunch all that text into millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of categories. So if it takes, you take Bob Dylan lyrics, and it says, oh, if I see a sentence that is a Bob Dylan lyric, it instantly knows, okay, this is in the category Bob Dylan. Maybe this is in the category girls with red hair. Maybe this is in the category of people lying in bed and their hair is shining because of the sun. And so there's millions of categories. It figures out the context and everything of what the query is about. And then if it says, oh, come up with another lyric like a Bob Dylan lyric, it already knows all the Bob Dylan lyrics and all the other categories. So it says, okay, well, I'm going to come up with a girl who I'm in bed with, who's got this color hair. Maybe I'll put in another color. Maybe I'll have a different thing, something else that rhymes with bed, or maybe they're sitting someplace else, like on a bus, whatever. I don't know. But it also has a category of romantic lyrics. And then it might come up with a bad lyric. And so for a year and a half also, after the initial ChatGPT model was done, the GPT-2 or 3 or whatever, they used manual labor, workers in Kenya, they were paying $2 an hour to basically chat with the pre-chat GPTs and say, this response is good, this response is good, this response is bad, this response is bad. And so it learned so the first stage was unsupervised learning, where it divided everything into categories. Second stage was supervised learning, where humans would tell it, that's a good kind of response, that's a bad kind of response. And it learned after a year and a half with millions of entries, what good responses were and what bad responses were. And now when we use ChatGPT today, we're part of the experiment still. It's learning what's good and what's bad, what's going to engage the user and what won't engage the user. And so it's always going to get better. So now to your question, that's how ChatGPT works. It's just probabilistic. It's some parts of it is unsupervised learning. Some parts of it is supervised learning. Now going forward, absolutely, it's going to change every industry. And I'm not saying this in this like, oh, AI can do no wrong sort of way. But look, if you're a logo designer and you outsource and you people outsource their logos to you on Upwork or Fiverr or whatever, instead of doing one job a week, you can now do 10 jobs a day because of Midjourney and DALL-E and ChatGPT and so on. And it doesn't mean you're going to be fired, because I don't know anything about graphic design. If I want to make a logo, I'm not going to really trust a non-human. I still want a human to like hold my hand through this. I want to tell a human, oh, I need a logo that's like, make a logo of me like Albert Einstein-ish a little bit and blah, blah, blah. And then they'll use the different AI programs and interface for me and send me a logo. Maybe they can't charge $20,000 for logo. Maybe they can only charge 200, but they're going to be a lot more productive. AI is going to drastically increase productivity in probably every industry. And it's a good thing. That's a good thing. People aren't going to net. That means more companies will start. That means more people will be hired. The net result will be more jobs created. People are worried, oh, my job's going to be taken by AI. It won't be. In the long run, more jobs will exist. More high-paying, good jobs will exist in the future than now because of AI. I worry about this. I think, oh, well, writers, like, I mean, will nobody be interested in me writing a book anymore? Not that that is like a source of income for me, but I like to write. But people always, if you want to beat AI, just be unique and have a unique life and have unique stories, because the AI is only learning from the past.
Right. Is it almost going to force us to be more human? Because like you said, it's not going to take chances. And at the end of the day, we're still trying to create value for humans, right? So is it almost going to force us? This is a question I wonder what you think about that, James. Is it almost going to force us to be more unique and more human in the creative chances that we take? Because if we try to be generic, we're not going to be able to be as productively and efficiently generic as an AI.
I mean, like, let's say you're a local newspaper of some local town in a suburb of wherever, Cleveland. I don't know. I'm making it up. And okay, you should fire all your reporters, because the reporter used to go to the city council meeting and then say what happened in an article. Well, now ChatGPT can already do that better. It can summarize the transcript and in a relatable way. You give it, parameters. This is what a journalist writes about. It could only be 500 words and good sentences and so on. And also ChatGPT knows all the laws ever passed by the city council in its history. So it'll be able to relate that into the article. But what if you want to keep your job at the local newspaper? Oh, maybe you go up to somebody, you investigate some city council person who was involved in a scandal, or maybe have a conflict of interest on the decision that was just made. And now you bring your own, let's say you're trying to get a source to talk to you, you bake them a cake, and now they talk to you for whatever reason. So you have to find ways to, AI is not going to contact or find a source that's going to tell them secret information. Think of the history of the Washington Post, one of the greatest newspapers ever. Okay, the most famous thing that ever happened to the Washington Post was during President Nixon's career. It was Watergate. Woodward and Bernstein, famous reporters now because of the movie All the President's Men, played by Robert Redford and Dustin Hoffman. They had a source called Deep Throat who had inside information on what Richard Nixon was up to. AI is never going to be able to do investigative journalism like that.
I love it.
So that's human, as opposed to just reading a transcript.